got doctor's appointment today. Yeah. Red dress. Remember what happened the last time?
Okay, good morning. I would like to, the hour of 9:45 having arrived, I'd like to reconvene the July 12th, 2016 public hearing for the purpose of receiving comment on the proposed issuance of the county of its special limited tax-exempt bonds or notes not to exceed $20 million in principal amount for the purpose of financing or refinancing the acquisition and rehabilitation of a multifamily residential housing development known as Carroll Tower through a mortgage loan to the owner that is to be repaid by the owner and will therefore not constitute indebtedness of the county. Is there anyone who would like to speak? And if so, if you would come to the podium, state your name for the record. Is there any public comment? If not, there being no speakers, the public hearing is closed at about 9:42 or 9:47. So, thank you, Don. Okay. Do we need to?
I'll move that we close.
Okay, so Mr. Hoshite moves to close the public hearing. Is there a second? So moved by Ms. Sterrett. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Okay. Now, we begin. I'd like to call to order the Kane County Board meeting of August 9th, 2016. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll. Celeste?
Ellen? Auger?
Here.
Ferrero? Here. Castro? Dahl?
Here.
Davis? Here. Frost?
Here.
Gillum?
Here.
Heyman?
Here.
Hoshite?
Here.
Ishmael? Kenyon?
Here.
Kazarek? Here. Leonard?
Here.
Lewis?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Molina? Present. Pollock?
Here.
Shefflo?
Here.
Silva? Smith?
Here.
Sterrett? Present. Vasquez? Here. Monicky?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to ask Hannah Beatis to come to the podium and lead us in the pledge. Hannah, who will be a senior at West Aurora High School this fall, has a 4.2 grade point average and is the Beacon News Softball Player of the Year. Hannah would like to recognize all Kane County law enforcement personnel, and especially her dad, Lieutenant Mike Beatis, from the Sheriff's Office, and her mom is here with her today. And if any of you have seen the picture of Hannah delivering fast pitch softball, it's almost scary. So Hannah, from what I read in the newspaper, is a student of the game. She kind of takes an intellectual approach to sports, not just brute strength, although strength is naturally an ingredient, but the mental approach of really studying what goes into it. Very instructive for life. So if everyone would rise and remain standing for our prayer, I'd appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and if you'd remain standing. Now, did you want to say anything? Did you want to add?
Oh, no, I'm okay.
Okay, Hannah, thank you very much for the good example you provide all of us.
Thanks.
Okay, and now I'd like to ask Dr. Nate Conroy, who has brought his son Sawyer with him today, to come to the podium and lead us in prayer.
Thank you, everyone, for having us here today. And to start off, we'll go ahead and get started with the prayer. So, Father, we thank you for having us all here today on this beautiful, sunny summer morning. We ask that you bless us, and in particular that you bless our community leaders, those that are here in this room, and that you guide them in their policy making and decision making, and that which continues to keep our communities the wonderful places that they are, and that which we raise our families, and that we live, and that we work. Father, thank you for continuing to do your good work through us and in us. In your name, Father, amen.
Please be seated. Do you know, if people go ahead and Google Dr. Nate Conroy, He practices chiropractic in the Fox Valley here, and he has an inspirational story. So if you Google him, it is Dr. Nate Conroy. Okay, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from July 12th, 2016? So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. Leonard. Are there any thoughts, comments, changes? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Because we have a whole host of speakers today, and I'd just like to welcome everyone who has taken their time to come today. Thank you very much for being here. So I'm going to contribute or give my time today to the speakers from the public. However, I would like to thank several, and actually as I look around the room, it occurs that there are even more people to thank, the board members and staff who are contributing real value to our county residents. You know, we should never confuse activity with real contribution or benefit that's being delivered, but here are some examples. Yesterday I read a report that DuPage County, which is very well run and a very professional group serving more than 750,000 people, they're thinking about spending $282,000 on federal and state lobbyists. You know that for the last 4 years, this board has not spent a penny of taxpayer money on lobbying, but people from this board have stepped up to do an outstanding job. So I'd like to recognize Brian Pollack and Susan Sterrett as the co-chairman of the legislative committee, and that's real savings of a similar kind of expenditure of $250,000. As you know, a second example, the Committee of the Whole, you know that our Judiciary and Public Safety have asked for and requested about $4.5 million more in spending this year than last year. They're all important programs. I respect what these requests are, but we've had conversation about limited resources that we face. But I'd like to thank John Hoscheit and John Martin and Christina Castro for the work that they're doing in the conversation to solve that, to bring us into a closer balance. I'd like to thank Ken Anderson and Kurt Kozarek and their team for the electricity aggregation program that's been in place for about 2-3 years. You know that Commonwealth Edison that serves all of us, and I'm amazed at the winter service and then in storms of how quickly power is reestablished. We have Sylvia. Sylvia, where are you? You're in the audience today. Sylvia, thank you very much for supporting the work. You know that recently Commonwealth Edison has lowered their price of selling electricity to all of our residents. But even with that lowering of costs, the Kane County electricity aggregation was so aggressively negotiated with the supplier, I think it was Dynegy perhaps, that we still are under that amount. So we're still saving a little bit of money. It's not a lot, but every savings counts. And it has created a perhaps de facto market where Commonwealth Edison is now lowering it for everybody. But we still have a bit of a price advantage. So it's all of an active, productive board and staff that produces all this good, and I'd like to thank you. So that's all I had to say on the short program today. Okay, we have speakers today in several areas, both on agenda items and non-agenda items. So we start with the agenda items, and let's see. So the total public comment, just to give background for the folks who are in the audience today, what the protocol has been for years. Total public comment for items listed on the agenda are limited to 30 minutes at the beginning on agenda items. Individuals who have provided notice of their intent to speak will be allowed 5 minutes. Then a total public comment time for items not limited. That's toward the end of the agenda on non-agenda items will be limited to 15 minutes at the end of the agenda. Individuals who have provided notice of their intent to speak on items not listed on the agenda are allowed 3 minutes each. So what we're going to do today is I would propose, with the approval of the board, that we allocate an entire 15 minutes, or perhaps 5 speakers times 3 minutes each, plus there are 3 other speakers on 3 other subjects. So if it's all right with the board, we'd expand it by that 9 minutes to get the input from those other ideas. And then I would suggest to the speakers addressing the school resource officer issue that perhaps when we go into executive session to talk about some legal issues, that you gather and select. I think that there are 11 people who are already listed, and I can give you that list. And then if you'll decide what you'd like to do with the full allocation of 15 minutes, maybe you want to do it in order of signing up, or some consensus of who you want to speak of those for that 15 minutes, or alphabetical order, whatever you would like. If you'd come to a plan on that, that'd be good. In order of signing up, Todd Stern, Julianne Fuchs, Chris Testone, Mitch Paynar, Janet Marlovitz, Michelle Vaughn, Todd Layden, Diane McFarland, C.J. Conley, Janelle McCormick, Jill Morris. And then there's also a Mr. Pryor who's with us today. Thank you for signing up, although it was later on last night. So you're burning the midnight candles, so good for you. So if during the break in the business, when we go into executive session, I would suggest that if you want to coordinate the presentation, you'll have a full period of the 15 minutes. Okay. So we have 3 individuals who have signed up prior to the deadline yesterday to speak on agenda items this morning. As I call your name, please come to the podium and spell your name for the record. Individual speakers are asked to limit their comment to 5 minutes. Total public comment time for items listed on the agenda limited to 30 minutes. I don't think that will bump up against that. So first speaker today is Janice Jasper on Long Meadow Parkway. So Ms. Jasper.
Oh, I'm talking on Long Meadow, that's true. Good morning. My name is Janice Jasper, Jasper. I live in Algonquin in the Kane County portion of the town. I have 2 comments for today. I am asking that Resolution 16-244 be pulled from the consent agenda so that its impact on the overall budget for the Long Meadow project can be explained. Specifically, I would like to know if this amendment for $251,000 plus the first amendment, which had been approved earlier for $314,000, puts this project $500,000 over its stated budget. My second comment has to do with the public hearing that you held today about the Carroll Tower bonds. Basically, I would like to repeat my comments from last month about these bond public hearings. And I would hope that whenever you are ready to issue the bonds for the Long Meadow project, that you would hold that meeting at a time that is more convenient for regular working people to come and offer their comments. You need to hear their concerns, especially since that action will be making the entire county financially responsible for the Long Meadow Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jasper. Ms. Jasper, may I ask you a question? You are always welcome here. Everybody who comes to speak to the board, we are all ears. Have you, and so I appreciate that there are certain times that you can join us and other times that aren't possible because you have a busy schedule. Have you brought those thoughts to the Transportation Committee where they're talked about in detail, and you can get at that time, I would assume, from the the chairman of the Transportation Committee that when those kinds of questions are asked, they could be answered on the spot. Have you brought those to Transportation Standing Committee?
No, to be honest, I have not, because, again, my understanding is the Transportation Committee also meets in the morning. Again,
Yes, ma'am.
it's just not convenient for most people to be able to come to
Yes, ma'am.
morning meetings like this.
That's why I
And
prefaced.
my understanding, too, is the bond issue, will that be, and maybe I'm not aware how that's going to proceed, but the bond issue will be handled first in transportation, because then I will try to make those meetings, but I wasn't sure if that was the procedure or not.
Actually, all those questions should be answered by our chief engineer, who you've talked to in the past, Carl Shadle, and he is in the audience today.
Yes, I saw
So
him.
again, we really appreciate that you take your valuable time and come and share your advice.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, next up is Belita Jacobson, also regarding Long Meadow Parkway. Belita, will the 5 minutes be okay?
Yes,
Okay.
probably 3, actually. It's Billita, Jacobson, Jacobsen. Ansel Adams once said, "It's horrifying that we have to fight our own government to save the environment." Well, horrifying is the best description of the Long Meadow Toll Bridge project. It's horrifying that county board members don't seem to care about the damage to 3 forest preserves. There doesn't seem to be concern about the hundreds of families who will have 4 lanes of traffic literally in their backyard. And the lack of empathy for taxpayers along the corridor is astonishing to me. There doesn't seem to be concern about the over 8,000 voters in Dundee Township who said they don't want this project. So let me speak to something that might cause concern: the money. The 2017 proposed transportation budget has an increase of $37 million compared to 2016. $25 million of that is for Long Meadow. How many roads and bridges in your districts won't be repaired because of this project that nobody in Dundee Township wants, but very few? How much money will be wasted? You are set for more approvals of money down the rabbit hole today. An additional $30 million must be issued in bonds by the county to pay your share of the $142 million cost of the Long Meadow boondoggle. And here's where it gets interesting. According to Illinois law, residents can collect signatures and put a binding referendum on the ballot regarding the bonds. Let me assure you, you are dealing with dedicated, determined residents who will get the bonding issue on the ballot, and you will lose. Kane County voters will not approve it. So show me the money. According to the Federal Highway Administration, federal funds have not been issued for the project. And if we and our attorneys have any say in the matter, federal funds will never be issued because according to federal law, federal funds are not to be used for projects that destroy public land. And that brings us to state money. Good luck with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobson. Okay, next on the agenda is Bonnie Kunkel, one of our alumna from the board, and I believe that Ms. Kunkel is here to speak on the In God We Trust resolution that's on the agenda.
Hello. Hello, old friends, and thank you to all of you and to the new faces and to the chairman and everyone in the audience. My name, I'm supposed to say, is Bonnie Kunkel, which is spelled B-O-N-N-I-E, K-U-N-K-E-L, and I am back here to talk to you about what I think are probably the two most important things: God and country. So we have the resolution, "In God We Trust." And you would think, wow, great. She likes God and she likes country. And what's better than putting the two together? Well, I've got to tell you, I think that's dangerous. And I think this is absolutely the wrong time for us to be doing it. And today I'm going to tell you why. First of all, remember, I didn't even know till I looked it up, where the phrase "In God We Trust" came from. It came out of the McCarthy era. It came out of the 50s, the late 50s, the idea to adopt that as the nation's motto and put it on our coins. It didn't come out of the best of times. It came out of the worst of times. It came out of a time when people were scared and were trying to separate themselves from others who were different or thought differently or might think differently. It was a time of isms, not a good time. And so maybe that's why "In God We Trust" is before us today. I was here when "In God We Trust" had its 50th anniversary, and nobody brought up the resolution then. So here it's a 60th anniversary. Why are we bringing it up now? Because now is a scary time. And we are focused so much on those who are different from us. And somehow it feels like if we could wrap God around us, right, like wrapping the flag around us, we could protect ourselves somehow and say, "Here are my friends, the ones who stand with me under the flag or under God, and we will persevere together." And it's tempting. It is. But it's wrong. It's not what my God's about, and it's not what my country's about. And I don't think it's really what you as county board members are about either. Because what my God is about religion. And what America is about inclusion. And what the county board is about county board business. And this isn't county board business now, is it? No, it has nothing to do with the county. It's a waste of your time. You can't change anything at the federal level. And neither the feds or the people who print the money or my God need your resolution to go forward. They will go forward with or without you. So the question is, what can you accomplish by passing this resolution? And I'm going to tell you, I think that you will promote division. You will promote more discord. You will promote the types of feelings that are tearing our country apart right now, and maybe even just a little bit, inch us just a little bit more towards the xenophobia that I think is promoting the terrorism that really scares the heck out of all of us. I've got to tell you that passing this resolution, it's just a matter of saying, well, this is my team, and yay team. But team defines a minority as insiders, and most people as outsiders, doesn't it? That's the equivalent, really, in a certain small way, unintended way, of waving the Confederate flag and saying, wow, we really like the good old days. Because at an underlying level, maybe not what was intended, but what was felt when people saw the Confederate flag, was that some human beings were less worthy and less equal than others. And so I've got to say, is this what we want? Do we want to say it's us versus them? Do we want to say we are a godly nation, and thus implying other nations are not? And that they are somehow less? And pick religious wars? Do we want to devalue and disregard the probably 1/3 of our country that admits they don't believe in God? No, I don't think we really want to do that either. I've got to tell you, I come before you as a person of faith. I am a Christian, and that's why I'm here, and I believe so strongly about this. I do not want to promote discomfort and disrespect for people for opposing viewpoints, because that's not in keeping with my God. You see, my God is a God of inclusion. My God embraces all good hearts. My God welcomes strangers, even from other countries. My God seeks and finds friends on every corner and in every shadow. My God doesn't use silly words to exclude others. And my God's ego doesn't ask to be or need to be put on a coin or adopted in a motto. My God, as to a coin, says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and moves on to more important things. My God is bigger than a motto, a coin, or a country, and my God doesn't need this resolution.
Okay, Ms. Kunkel, you're at about 6:15.
Let me just say this. Don't vote for a symbol or a motto. When you vote and you believe in God, vote no because you believe in God and God's people. And if you don't believe in God, vote no because you vote your conscience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kunkel. Next on the agenda are zoning petitions. I'd like to ask Development Committee Chairman Kurt Kozarek to discuss and make the motion to approve each of the following zoning petitions individually.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first petition, petition 4379, is located in Plato Township. The petitioner is looking to for a special use for a dog boarding kennel. The Development Committee has approved this with one stipulation already listed, and we have 3 more that we would like to include in the resolution today. No more than 2 dogs will be outside at any one given time. And then the other 3 stipulations we would like to add are, number 1, a maximum of 21 dogs total are allowed on the property, 15 boarded, 3 personal, and 3 foster dogs. Number 2, kennel dogs are not allowed outside before 7 a.m. and after 8 p.m. Number 3, along the entire property line on Coron Road, a permanent highway easement condition of a strip of land 60 feet wide parallel to Coron Road shall be granted and conveyed to the County of Kane by the petitioner. These were all agreed with by the petitioner as well, and I'll make the motion now.
So moved by Mr. Kozarek, second by Ms. Wonicki. Are there any questions, comments?
The petitioner is here to answer any questions.
Okay. So if there are no questions, I'd like to ask the clerk call the roll. Celeste?
Auger,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Fries.
Yes.
Gillum. Yes. Heyman. Yes. O'Shea.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazarek.
Yes.
Leonard. Lewis.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Molina. Halleck. Shefflo. Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Vasquez. Yes. Monicky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Next petition is 4385.
4385 is located in St. Charles Township. It is proposing the rezoning from B1 District Business to B4 District Business Countryside Estate Residential. The Development Committee has voted to deny this petition, and I will make that motion at this time.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Kozarek, second by Mr. Martin.
Motion is to deny.
The motion
Yes,
is
and the
to
motion
deny
is to
petition.
deny the petition. Okay. So any discussion, questions? If not, the clerk call the roll.
Aye.
Auger.
Yes.
Guerrero. Yes. Dahl.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Fries.
No.
Gillum.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
O'Shea.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazarek.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Lewis. Martin.
Yes.
Molina. Halleck. Shefflo.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Vasquez. Yes. Monicky.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the motion to deny prevails on petition 4385. Okay, now on to resolutions and ordinances. Would anyone like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Mr. Pollack?
224.
16224. Ms. Sterrett?
16237.
Okay, 237. Any others? Mr. Fraz?
16244.
16244. Any others? Okay, if not, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of 16224, 16237, 16244. So moved by Mr. Heyman, second by Mr. Dahl. See, the motion is made and seconded. I'd like to ask clerk call the roll.
Auger? Yes. Barrero?
Yes.
Yes.
Fries?
Yes.
Gillum? Yes. Hayman?
Yes.
Koscheit?
Yes.
Kinman?
Yes.
Zarek? Yes. Leonard? Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Pollock?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Vasquez? And Winicky?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so motion carries. Now going back to number 16224, Mr. Pollock.
I'll make the motion for discussion. I just asked it to be pulled because I've got a lot of calls from.
Could you turn on your microphone?
Got it? Better? I'll make the motion to approve. I just wanted it to be discussed as I've gotten a lot of calls on both sides, and I feel it's something that this board might want to discuss.
Okay. So let's see. Mr. Pollock moves. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Barrero. I don't know how much discussion there would be. Would it be all right with the board if we select two on each side or limit two to each side? And unless there's more discussion, then, fine, we'll go into it more deeply. But would that be okay? Consensus of the board? Okay. Well, is there anyone who would like to make a comment then? Okay. If not, okay, motion to call the question, second by Ms. Wonicky. Does the clerk call the roll? Okay, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Aye. Auger?
Yes.
Barrero?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Fries?
Yes.
Gillum?
Yes.
Hayman?
Yes.
Koscheit?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Zarek? Yes. Leonard? Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina? No. Pollock?
Yes.
Shefflo?
Yes.
Silva?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes. Yes.
Motion carries. Now, number 16237, Ms. Sterrett, would you like to move that? So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Ms. Gillum. Ms. Sterrett.
Yes, proclaiming August 2016 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month in Kane County. And we actually had some wonderful events that were on Friday and Saturday. I actually attended the one on Friday, and I think that the VNA did a wonderful job. It was actually a worldwide event, so it was not just for our area, where all of the ladies were doing that at the same time. We're actually breastfeeding. And they had some wonderful programs that went along with it, and great education as well. There was one up at Sherman as well. So.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sterrett. Any other comments? Dr. Silva.
Good morning. A brief comment. The committee did express opinion and desire that businesses in Kane County promote breastfeeding, the facilitation of breastfeeding, nurturing for young babies and mothers. So we'd like to convey that that businesses in Kane County should very much be helpful in facilitating this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silva. Any other comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Aye. Auger?
Yes.
Barrero?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
Davis? Yes. Fries? Fraz. Gillum.
Yes.
Yes.
Oshite.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazarick. Leonard.
Yes.
Lewis. Martin.
Yes.
Lena. Pollock. Shefflo.
Yes.
Silva.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Sterrett.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Now, number 16244, Mr. Fraz, would you like to move that?
Yes, I would.
So moved by Mr. Fraz, second by Mr. Hoshite. Mr. Fraz.
I just pulled this in deference to Mrs. Jasper that spoke, was one of our earlier speakers. I thought it merited some additional explanation. And I would ask Mr. Scheidel to help me out if needed. But essentially, this resolution reaffirms our earlier environmental studies and so forth that took place. We've made some adjustments to this project through engineering, and the state and federal agencies have asked us to reaffirm and provide that the assessment still stands. So that's what this is. It's $251,000, which is a lot of money, but for a project of this magnitude, it's not unusual at all. And most of the concerns that we've heard from speakers over time have been in relation to the environment. So we want to make sure that everything is done according to our state and federal agencies, and that's what we're doing. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fraz. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen.
Aye.
Auger.
Yes.
Barrero. Dahl.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Fraz.
Yes.
Gillum.
Yes.
Heyman.
Yes.
Oshite.
Yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Kazarick.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Alina. Yes. Pollock.
Yes.
Shefflo.
Yes.
Silva. Yes. Smith. Yes. Sterrett.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Wonicky.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. That takes care of the consent agenda items. On Resolution 16245, unfortunately, over the weekend, I hoped that I would be able to put together a resolution that had some of what I would say. I didn't get a chance to do that, but we won't take any vote. But what I would like to do is just ask for like a board consensus in this discussion. So, and it would be consensus to pursue non-property tax revenue sources. And this may be obvious and simple, but I don't want to be doing work that doesn't enjoy your full support. I want to keep myself aligned with the will of the board. The three areas that we've been working on together for the last couple of years is number one, managing marketing, selling for money, real money, that takes the place of property tax levy increases, and then maximizing our fiber optic system. We have 47 miles of fiber optics, large capacity in the ground. We want to make the most of it. We had the second annual Leaders Summit. Success outlined how we want to improve quality of life and productivity in Kane County by creating access to gigabit capacity fiber optics for all areas, even underserved areas. We're taking a two-prong approach, residential by town, public-private agreements, then also commercial. And one of the things in the budget this year, I believe, and Roger Fonstock could correct me if I'm wrong, but approximately $150,000 worth of fees, revenue sharing agreements are coming into the county to offset any pressure that we would have to increase property taxes. So that's number one. Number two is the cell phone amplification. The idea is to improve service for cell phones, collect a small fee from service providers. We stumbled maybe 2-3 years coming out of the gate. We received legal advice that says we cannot do it, and so we need to get that clarified. The cities of Chicago, Hoffman Estates, St. Charles, Berwyn, and DuPage is exploring it, but other places are moving forward. I think we just need clarification on certainly something that benefits our constituents, and we derive non-property tax revenue for, I would think is a good thing, and I would think that the board feels is a good thing. And then finally, waste to fuel. Answering the question, why build mountains of garbage when we can recycle on steroids and do it a much better way. I do need help in this process for strategy, relationships, regulation and legislation, and prototypic agreements by experienced experts. You know, there are people who do this for a living in these different areas, and their special expertise. It's going to be important that we make strategic investments in those kinds of expenditures, all within budgets that you've already approved. So all within the limits dictated by this board. So is there anyone who would object or say, no, we shouldn't advance these non-property tax revenue sources? Okay. Oh, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The waste to fuel, I suspect you're talking about biochar. Is that, I believe that's the technical term for that.
No, that's only one. That's only one segment of a huge market of different technologies. But it is one. It actually is a relatively small area, but it is advanced forward at this time. It's one of many.
Okay. Well, I guess I'd make you aware that I have some background in this area, and I'd appreciate being included in the conversations.
You're certainly welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, we'll go on to the next part of the agenda. Okay, we're going to go into executive session. May I have a motion and a second to go into that session to discuss pending litigation? So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. Leonard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now, if you wouldn't mind, the next thing that's going to be on the agenda is going to be the public comment on non-agenda items. So with the folks who are here for the school resource officers, would you kind of caucus or gather and outline how you would like to present what you'd like to bring forward? So, I'll ask that question, and maybe I'll ask Mr. Stern to give me the conclusion at the end. Okay. All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. If the board members would please take their seats. Ms. Wojnicki, we're checking for quorum now. Okay. So, thanks, Ms. Wojnicki. All right. So what? All right. Okay, next on the on our agenda is the speakers on non-agenda items. The process of the protocol here is 3 minutes per topic, up to a maximum of 15 minutes. We do have 3 speakers on items that are not the school resource officers. But I talked to Todd Stern, superintendent of the Burlington district, I think, and that's going to be a 15-minute managed within the group that wants to make their points. And I respect that, and we're going to give maximum flexibility to that presentation. Before we go there, there is a fellow named Glenn Lundgren who would like to address transparency regarding the use of budget surpluses to pay employee bonuses. Glenn Lundgren. Mr. Lundgren, would you come forward? And with 3 minutes, and I'm sorry, everyone has been so patient. We are all ears to listen to. Would 3 minutes be okay?
It'll be more than enough, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Glenn Lundgren, G-L-E-N-N. Lundgren, L-U-N-D-G-R-E-N. First off, I want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate it. I know that you've got a lot on your agenda and a lot on your plate, so I appreciate it very much. Also, the help of Mr. Fraz, who guided me in the proper procedure to approach the board. Thank you. I live in one of 2 bordering subdivisions in District 18, and the significance of that is that in many of these subdivisions, we, like them, have a homeowners association message board, if you will, on social media, in which the homeowners are quite active in posting everything for items for sale, political opinions, things of that sort. I do not represent any of these two homeowners associations. Because we border, we do share message boards and content between the two. But what I did want to do is to bring to you, your attention, the chatter on these boards regarding what we perceive to be unusually high real estate or property taxes. And I guess it's coincidental with the new assessments going out that would spark controversy and spark discussion. But what really set the wheels of outrage in motion was one of the residents posted an article I'm sure many of you are familiar with, I know Drew is, that was published by the Illinois News Network regarding, among other things, budget surpluses and how those monies are being spent for what was categorized as bonuses for employees. I can tell you that many of my neighbors have gone for many years without a bonus. And we are working hard, and I'm sure just as hard as many of the people in this county, in trying to do as good a job as we can. I don't know if that article was misleading in the use of the term bonuses, but it created quite an outrage, and the message boards are very, very active about this. And there are groups that are thinking about putting together a consortium of people and approaching the board regarding the whole taxation issue. What is significant, I think, and what I want to leave you to think about is tax increases year after year after year with what has been admitted as having budget surpluses in the budget. So you think about that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It smacks of having fat in the budget, things that need to be cut out and perhaps applied forward to necessary services, necessary programs, whatever they might be, that the board feels is appropriate. But this is publicity that was created, and now all of us have to live with this and figure out how we calm down the masses, because I'm sure we're not the only ones that have seen this particular article. The real issue here, I think, that is affecting the residents is a perception of overtaxation. And we have reached our limit in terms of what we can absorb as taxes and paying for other services and just trying to carve out a living. And we recognize that you need costs and things are going up as well for county services. But I do want you to be aware that really you have reached critical mass in terms of our tolerance for more taxation.
Thank you very much. You're at 4 minutes 30.
Okay, then I will leave. Thank you very much.
No, I do apologize for the time constraints, and thank you. What you're saying makes a lot of sense. You know, thank you, Mr. Lundgren. There is a point of clarification that does need to be made here. First of all, Mr. Lundgren, this board is very proud of the fact that to run county business for the last 5 years, there's been a frozen property tax levy, that not one penny more has been asked of property tax payers to run the county business. That doesn't mean that the property taxes haven't gone up, because they have. But at least you have one network of elected officials who understand and act on what you've said just now. The point of clarification, Roger, would you put up the slide on, this is a department-specific kind of problem that has come up. It is not a county policy. So there are just 3 points I'd like to make. Number one, this is not county policy. Number two, I believe that this board is enthusiastic in supporting action to immediately discontinue the practice. Number 3 is, let's see, in this slide, let's see, Roger? Let's see, it's of the surpluses. And we don't even call them surpluses here because there are so many obligations, temporary revenue over expenses. But we wanted to provide a couple of pieces of information to anybody who would like it. Number 1, the listing of, and it's on the transparency is very important to us. The listing of all those types of compensation are already in opengov.org. But if you want it boiled down to very digestible information, Joe Onsick, our Chief Financial Officer, has provided that information to the board members, and all of us report into the people, so certainly you're entitled, and I don't use the word loosely, to have that information. And it is a summary of departments affected, the 4 that are affected, the amounts, and the amounts that have been provided. And then you provide, as taxpayers, good pay, great benefits, and now bonuses. And I am not familiar. I think that many of us, both on this board and outside of this board, are not familiar with the concept of bonuses for public employment. That's, there are compensations in other areas. So this is not something, the characterization of using budget surpluses to pay employee bonuses, unfortunately, that's a generalization. These have been the temporary excess revenue over expenses, and then how those have been allocated each year for the last 4 years. Not one penny has gone to bonuses. So when Joe Onsick, if Joe Onsick is in the room, actually, if somebody will pass that along to Joe, who do we have from our staff here? Actually, I'll ask Ellen to pass along to Joe that when he sends out anybody who requests it, Mr. Lundgren, if you like, we'll send it by email, whatever. But also, this slide needs to go out so that the facts of how we allocate, and this board gives very diligent consideration to it, so that this is clarified, okay? Thank you. I don't respond in 4 years. I think I barely responded to any public comment, but that one is crucial to what this group has done for a long time now. So thank you very much for coming, and everybody's patient. Mr. Swick is next. Gary Swick is next regarding ongoing relations with Friends of the Fox River.
Thank
Mr.
you
Swick.
for giving me the opportunity. Good morning. I'm Gary Swick. That's G-A-R-Y-S-W-I-C-K. I'm acting president of Friends of the Fox River. And we usually address decision makers with existing project plans or, reports of great results. And usually we're seen as a valuable partner. But currently it seems some board members see us as a threat. And I'm here today to try and heal our relationship so that we can continue our path of mutual public service. The last time that we stood before the board, we were requesting and were granted $78,000. And that was for the establishment of the Fox River Watershed Monitoring Network, which facilitates water quality data collection at many Kane County tributaries and the Fox River by students. And since that time, that program has hosted over 50,000 kids in our local streams, building a stewardship ethic. Friends of the Fox has a long history of partnering with Kane County and the Forest Preserve District. We regularly work with county staff on water quality, habitat restoration, and education initiatives. At Forest Preserves, we collect data, conduct river cleanups, and connect people to the river. Together, we provide many services to county residents that assist the county in its mission and protect our Fox River. Our partnership appears to have been jeopardized by some misconceptions. We have always had a great working relationship with the county board, and we do not want these misconceptions to hinder the good work that we can do together. It is my experience that no relationship is free of disagreements, and it is my perception that in the political arena, one must agree to disagree on particular issues in order to move forward to accomplish the many tasks that this board faces. Being a board member, as you know, is a daunting task. You have so many difficult decisions to make, and we applaud the many fantastic initiatives that the county conducts that support the mission of Friends of the Fox River. Personally, I'm comfortable dealing with watershed issues and letting you do the rest, and you do a fine job of that. The Long Meadow Parkway is not a project that Friends of the Fox can support. It's contrary to our mission. We deal with many threats to our watershed, and we work diligently on many fronts. However, this project does not define us as an organization, and it should not be something that controls our relationship to work collectively together on a common mission. Friends of the Fox and the Forest Preserve District have similar missions, and it makes sense for us to be partners. Few partnerships exist without disagreement on some things, and I'm asking the members of Kane County Board not to use whatever disagreement we have to influence our future initiatives between us. One of our partnerships is the Schweitzer Environmental Center. We entered that in 2009, and since that time, over $20,000 of donated time and materials and hundreds of hours of volunteer work have been invested there. To cover expenses, it was recommended that we host events for rental fees, and we were informed that we could serve alcohol at these events and what the restrictions were. One of your board members noticed that this was on the Schweitzer website and suggested terminating the lease. Upon notification and conversations, we promptly removed that information from the site. We're heavily invested in the Schweitzer Environmental Center and very excited about the possibilities there, but we need your trust and support to continue our work there. Friends of the Fox has never been involved in any representative election. It is in our bylaws that we may not enter or support or oppose a political candidate. Friends of the Fox did not take any action to influence any county board candidate in the last election. It has come to our attention that this is a common misconception within the county board, and I want to assure you it is false. Outcomes of election are the results of voter interests. Last year, we applied for $20,000 for the Grand Victoria Grant to begin the replacement of the windows at Schweitzer. We received only $5,000, but that was more than nothing. And so we committed an additional $6,000 with the assumption that we would continue to receive support for the county-owned building, making the upgrades. We feel that this year's request was denied because of the misconceptions I just mentioned. We are requesting that each board member understand that we have a long relationship to foster and much good work to accomplish. Please understand the misconceptions about lease violation and election influence are both false. We may need to disagree on Long Meadow, but we don't need to deny the citizens of the county and their watershed of valuable services. I invite all of you to come to the Schweitzer Environmental Center and witness the work that has been invested there, and I especially welcome all of you to have an individual discussion about how we can mend our relationship and work for the good of the county in the future. Thank you for your service. It's appreciated, and thank you for your considerations.
Thank you, Mr. Zwick. Next is Ray Dagan, assistance with smoke-free housing opportunity and ongoing issues with enforcement inside residential mental health care facility. Mr. Dagan, is the 3 minutes okay?
I will do my very best.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, for allowing me to speak again. Name is Ray Dagan, last name D like David, E-H-G-H-A-N. I live in Aurora, and most unfortunately, the illegal tobacco, marijuana, and other drug smoke continues to severely interfere with my mental, physical, and spiritual health inside my residential transitional living mental health care facility. The Kane County Health Department continues to have great issues enforcing smoke-free Illinois inside my residential facility. Since my last address of the board, as a consequence, I believe, and my doctors and other community members believe, I was hospitalized again since the last time I addressed this board last month. And my girlfriend also continues to be homeless. The situation continues to be devastating to the both of us. My girlfriend and I were recently provided the opportunity to affordably rent a detached home presented to us through a local housing authority. Now, I'm working on getting the proper paperwork in order. My concern is I am not positive if I'm not positive if I'm going to be able to get all the proper paperwork in order that they necessarily qualify. Environmental intolerances alone, no matter how severe, do not necessarily, as I understand it, I'm not a lawyer, you know, but as I understand it, that they may not necessarily qualify for a person with disabilities to rent an affordable detached home. And what I am very kindly and respectfully asking of the board is if they can please assist us, if any assistance that could be provided, we'd be very grateful to the board for assistance with the local housing authority, the Aurora Housing Authority, to assist us in renting this home. It's desperately needed. My girlfriend, for my girlfriend and I, this you know, given the ongoing for all those factors. I respectfully remind you how much I have to offer to the citizens of Kane County. I've been a non-political public servant for most of my professional life, and I eagerly wait for the opportunity to once again be able to serve the citizens of Kane County. In the variety of talents that I have, it's just, it's a totally disabling situation, and this is an opportunity. It's just, it's navigating the bureaucracy of the Public Housing Authority, and it's just a very difficult thing to navigate, and there are just so many issues going on in terms of with, you know, all of these things that it's really overwhelming. It can be overwhelming, you know, sort of navigating the bureaucracy. So we would be very grateful if we could, you know, put a my girlfriend and I very badly want closure to this issue, and I feel that being able to rent an affordable single detached home for the two of us has a great chance of providing desperately needed closure to this issue.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Dagan.
Thank you.
And just for information of the board, you know how diligent Barb Jeffers is in charge of public health, and Barb is doing what she can do in this area to help Ray and others. Okay. Finally, we have the speakers on the school resource officer. Todd, you mentioned that you're going to have a series of people come up. You know, we have the procedure of having people sign up and then in order. The point of public comment is for people to communicate their point of view as they feel is best within the constraints of the procedures, so that they have the best opportunity to inform you in the process of your making decisions. So, Todd, would you like to come forward and kind of choreograph the 15 minutes of the presentation on this issue? Would that be okay?
Yes, that would be fine. Board members, thank you for entertaining us today. And I would just like you to hear from a couple parents, a couple administrators from both districts, and from a student, a recent graduate of Kaneland. And I realize that there's many dynamics that play into this, and that there is no vote today. And but it's just food for thought as we continue to work together to get this issue resolved in a timely fashion. So thank you, and our respects to you and to the sheriff. And I'll have a timer out of respect for that 15 minutes. I told you we will cut it off. So very good.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jill Maris, M-A-R-A-S, and I'm the principal of Kaneland High School. As the principal, safety and security of our students, our staff, our community, and building are a top priority. The responsibility of this weighs very heavily on me. During times of threats to our school, power outages, investigations, weather concerns, and other potential unknowns, I have found great comfort in the guidance, the support, the reassurance, and knowledge of our SROs. I'm able to remain calm and make decisions knowing that the SRO is there with me and is also in constant contact with the authorities. One can't truly put a price tag on the worth of that presence for me and for those with me, but I can definitely share it as a required personnel at the high school, and I can't imagine doing my job without one. It's my honor now to introduce to you one of our recent graduates, Mr. Landon Mosley, to share his statement.
My name is Landon Mosley, Landonmosley. As a student who has been directly impacted by having a student resource officer present in my school, I truly believe that having an SRO in school grounds benefits the whole student body. During the school days, SROs prevent fights by simply being in the hallways, as students are less likely to misbehave when there's an official nearby. Students would also have a greater difficulty skipping class with an SRO in the hallways. They also prevent fights or separate them when they do occur, and make sure that students receive the correct penalties for their violent behavior. On top of that, SROs check that bullying policies are being taken seriously and followed correctly, as well as giving emotional guidance to the students when they need it. When schools are under lockdown due to a potential threat, student resource officers are present to disarm the perpetrator and put a halt to the assault if one takes place. Not only do SROs have an impact during school, but outside of school as well. By participating in Drug Abuse Awareness Week and assemblies on drunk driving, especially during prom week, students become aware of the dangers and are less likely to take part in them, as well as encourage their friends to do the same. In light of recent events, by being such an amazing influence on the entire student body, they give an example that not all officers are harmful or abuse their power. By having an SRO at my school, I learned that I am important and there is always someone who is looking out for me. I felt safe going to school every single day, and even during the lockdowns due to shooting or bomb threats, because there was an officer there to disarm the situation. In my opinion, student resource officers are immensely important and vital to the student body's safety and comfort, and should be present in all schools.
My name is Rick Pryor. I'm a Kane County resident. I live near Plato Center. I have a daughter that goes to Burlington. I have a daughter that attends Burlington Central. My first response to this situation was disgust. I'm a firefighter medic for a North Side Suburban Department. You have a $30 million bridge no one wants, and you can't find $100,000 to put officers in these schools. The Burlington site and the Caneland site are large sites with multiple buildings. There's well over 2,000 people at each of those sites during the school day. I'd like to cite some facts from the 2000 to 2013 FBI study on active shooters. There was 160 incidents with 1,043 fatalities in this time frame. There was also 500 wounded. By the sheriff's own admission, it would take 25 minutes to get a car to one of those sites if something bad was to happen. You're going to have an incident similar to Columbine, where they didn't enter the building for 30 minutes. And all the training, we participate with law enforcement, EMS and law enforcement together, and all the training, the law enforcement enters the building with speed now. They don't wait for SWAT. It seems like we're taking a step backwards. More progressive departments rush their officers in to neutralize the situation. Lost my train of thought. All I'd like to say is I am very, very disappointed in the situation. I think it's a bad decision to remove the officers. You're talking about pennies on the dollar. I thought law enforcement officers were to take an oath to serve and protect, not to try to extort money from the public. The only thing I have to say is November's around the corner. Hopefully there'll be some changes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Diane McFarlane, M-C-F-A-R-L-I-N. I'm proudly entering my 32nd year of education, my 12th serving as assistant principal for Caneland High School Student Services and Special Education. On behalf of the Caneland District 302 School admin and staff and many of our students, I publicly endorse the support of the move for reinstatement of our high school SRO. As research and data shows from both the education and the law enforcement realms, it is clear and makes common sense that the power of trusting relationships can change the trajectory of a student's life. In this current national climate of questionable trust of police by young people, it is only more urgent now than ever before to work with police and partner in the full education of our young people. For the past 14 years, we have had a full-time SRO at Burlington Central and Kaneland High School. 14 years. One of the suggestions that have been thrown around is a part-time. In these days, now more than ever, that is not appropriate. As someone who has spent over 30 years working with high school-age students, I know that we are given a limited window of opportunity to teach, to guide, to inspire, and empower our students to make good decisions. So, above and beyond all the drug investigations, the daily medical emergencies, the crisis that happens on a daily basis, this year alone, our SRO, Deputy Sarah Conley, has built strong relationships with all of our students. But with her focus on at-risk students, she has mentored, guided, listened, and worked her way into trusting relationships with those at-risk kids, them and their families, who sometimes are just as challenging and non-trusting by nature. Through this prevention work, which is so much more powerful and life-changing than punitive discipline, which plays into the school-to-prison pipeline of so many of our nation's at-risk population, our SRO has partnered with us in the positive, life-affirming education of our students toward health and success in our community life. She has literally saved lives through her work. This is not a would-be nice position to have. This is not a non-essential position to have. This is important. It's life and death. Let me repeat, the life and death of our kids that we are all responsible for, not just those who work in the schools. You are. You live in this community. You serve in this board. You're responsible to help support all of our students. That's all of our responsibility. And now, with all the publicity we've gotten that we will not be covered with an SRO at our building, we now become a target for behavior that is an activity that is non-conducive for education of our students. These two high schools, just because we are in the rural area covered by the county, these two high schools are the only two high schools in the area of this state that will not have a full-time SRO to protect and support all of our students. So whatever the true reason is for the sheriff to make this recommendation to pull the SRO from our midst, there remains an urgent need for all of us to understand and continue to be as public as possible to realize that this is irresponsible and it's dangerous. Our students, our community, and our staff are watching very carefully and waiting, especially for those of you who are in elected positions, to fix this, to do the right thing. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you to the chairman and the board for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Testoni. I'm the principal of Central High School. Chris, traditional spelling, Testoni, T-E-S-T-O-N-E. I'll keep my comments brief. There's really three topics I'd like to talk to you about. Give you the principal's perspective of our vulnerability as a result of this issue. You've heard about the safety piece, but talk to you a little bit about the community and police relations that I feel are a valuable component of this, and then actually leave the board with a question to consider, given the fact that the school year is starting very soon. Vulnerability. Every day in my school, we start with approximately 1,100 students, over 100 staff, and they are all over the commons area. What that means is it's not structured. That's an extremely vulnerable time during the day. Throughout the day, at any given point, there's over a quarter of that population in my commons area. Again, very unstructured portions of the day where we're at our most vulnerable. You'll look at the room where there's about 60 people in here, give or take. Imagine over 1,100. Police community relationships. We had the luxury of Deputy Hum last year, and it was a great experience for our kids. He not only made them feel safe,
but he contributed to our programming via giving lectures or presentations regarding drugs, alcohol, driving, and a litany of other things that our high school kids deal with. Furthermore, he participated in our career day, advocating for a career in law enforcement because we have several kids interested in that. And so I think in a day and age where we need more positive police-community relationships, I think a program like this actually fosters that. So it goes beyond just the safety, which I think is the biggest issue, but a more global issue facing our community. The third point is I'm given to understand that the budget cycle is December to December, and I would assume, maybe falsely so, but that the SRO would have been worked into the budget at least until December. As a principal, I'm starting school in 2 weeks and do not have any confirmation as to whether or not I have a school resource officer in place. I would like the board to consider that because that is actually my reality as we stand here, and I'm answerable to my community as to what I'm going to do about that. I understand you're not going to respond to me, but I would assure you that any administrators in our district would be happy to work with the board to come up with a solution. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is CJ Conley. I am a resident of the Kaneland district. I'm here speaking on behalf of all parents in Kaneland and Burlington. You heard all the facts. You understand, as men and women of this community, the safety need of our children. We have approximately 2,600 students that are non-essential. Non-essential. The police, Kane County Department, 911, inmates and guards. By law, from what I understand, that's the county's responsibility. I live in Blackberry Township. Kane County Sheriff's Department are the officers who respond if I call 911. I have an incoming freshman at Kaneland High School. Kaneland High School needs to be protected. Sheriff Kramer reports to this board, as I understand. Elected officials here. As a parent, I do not understand why this is a question. I don't understand why it's not factored in. I don't understand why we have to be here. This is critical. My son is 14. He's going to start his high school career, and is going to start his high school career in, as far as I'm concerned, an unsafe environment. I believe I was told there are 3 Burlington representatives on the board and 2 Kaneland representatives on the board. I'm sincerely hoping those 5 are behind us. However, if the rest of you could put yourselves in this position, because if any of you have high schoolers, all of your high school students have SROs. Ours are being told, our children, our parents are being told we are non-essential because it's non-mandatory, it's not needed. We all know what age we live in, and this is essential. It is mandatory. And this is something that we need help with. We need help from the Sheriff's Department, and we need help from this board in order to figure out what issues there are. No more finger pointing, get it done. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Michelle Vaughn, V-A-U-G-H-N. I'm coming to you as the Dean of Central High School and also a parent. I'm going to go off my script and go short and sweet. I love Kane County. I was raised here. I love Burlington Central. I went there and got a great education and then graduated college and came back. And I brought my family here. I live in Lily Lake. So I'm invested. My family, my children are here, and we love it. It saddens me to see that, especially in this time, the way schools are, that my children are younger, but they're not going to have an SRO. As the dean of the high school, our students have made relationships with the SRO and feel safe. The teachers feel safe, and the teachers are then allowed to go and do what they need to do, provide the best education and make the interventions for students. If the teachers have to focus on covering other areas that the SRO did, that takes away from the education of the students. And I think that needs to be our priority, their safety and their education. So please, please keep the SROs in our school. Thank you.
That concludes our 15 minutes, but if you would entertain, Superintendent Layden would like to make a closing comment.
Sounds good. Thank you. Mr. Layden?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having us, and thank you for a little additional time. My name is Todd Layden, L-E-D-E-N, Superintendent of Kaneland Schools. I want to thank you for your support. Thank you for your returning of phone calls. Any board members I've reached out to, they've immediately given me calls back, and I've had great dialogue on this topic. I'd like to thank the sheriff also, who we've had dialogue with. What we would just like to close with, in our profession of education, we are regularly working together as a team. We're problem solving, we're coming up with solutions. So as you've heard the parents in front of me and administrators in front of me, we would just ask the same. If there's any other conversations we can have, any other dialogue that we can have, any other meetings, any time to sit up and discuss any options, we're willing to meet anytime, anywhere, whether it be with the sheriff and or the county board members to try to come up with solutions. We're past the point of frustration. We're at the point now of trying to have a solution, so in 2 weeks we can have an SRO in both schools for our nearly 3,000 students. So again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Layden. Dr. Stern?
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Board. Thank you, Sheriff, for hearing us. We appreciate the work of all parties, and we hope we can get this resolved in a timely fashion.
Okay. Before we wrap up with a motion to adjourn, I would like to, I wouldn't want to leave this room with some of the, what's obviously a perception on the part of the final group of speakers. The board and I have strongly supported the SROs for as long as we've been here, for all the reasons that you've enumerated. Number one, it's that program has been supported. Number two, we've put money behind that support, lots of money. I heard the characterization of, well, it's a mere pittance, and we have allocated, if this budget that's been proposed goes through for next year, in the past 3 years, this board will have increased the Sheriff's Department from $21 million to $25 million. So $4 million more each year, $4 million of more money each year in just this past year. So the ways and the means of getting that job done are in place. This board is consistently advised. I first put bruised, but advised by the state's attorney's office that about the state statute of internal control. That means, and Mr. Testoni, very important, you're saying, I think that what you're saying, you believe that the board can decide on that, and that's why you make your appeal to this board. Ms. Conley, it reports into this board implying that we can direct any of the countywide elected officials. That is not within our authority according to our state's attorney. Any person who is elected by the people directly, not by this board or appointed by this board, has that authority. It is infinite frustration to me, in many cases, but I do accept that I have to work within those statutes. Or, Ms. Conley, when you say, well, get it done, speaking to this group, 100% of the authority does rest in the sheriff's hands. We cannot mandate from the board, we cannot say to any of the countywide elected officials, do it. Once the dollars are allocated, and $4 million more in 3 years, and so it is the intention of all, including the sheriffs, to keep everybody safe. Everybody. Number two, lots of money. $4 million over 3 years if the current budget is approved. $4 million has been put in this area. And so again, the means are there. The third piece being the decision is in the hands of the person who you've elected in that. And so I would ask you from a constructive standpoint that it's in the hands of the sheriff to make that determination. So, Mr. Fries?
I would just like to add, I've spoken to all the board members that represent the various the 2 school districts affected, and we are in full agreement that, you know, these officers should remain, and that any further discussion of increasing the budget for the sheriff will begin with this issue. But I'm more concerned, you know, one of the speakers mentioned school starts in 2 weeks. And I'm going to publicly ask the sheriff to reinstate those officers beginning day 1, so they'll give this board time to work on the budget, hand in hand with yourself, and get this going. But in 2 weeks, there's going to be hundreds of kids showing up for school, and we want to have them protected. So I'm asking you that publicly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for your patience and your participation in the whole process of self-governance. So may I have a motion to adjourn to Tuesday, September 13th?
Motion adjourned.
So moved by Mr. Heyman, second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it.